Hello, good evening, everyone. I want to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard Community Services, Public Safety, Housing, and Development Committee for January 28th, 2025. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call and posting of the agenda, followed by a pledge of allegiance in a moment of silence for one of our own police officers, Gina Rodriguez, who I learned earlier today passed away here recently. So we'll take a moment of silence for him.
Chair MacArthur.
Here.
Committee Member Bettis.
Here.
Committee Member Perello. Here. The agenda for this meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, the city administrative offices, and on the city's website on Thursday, January 21st. And then also for the record, staff is requesting that the information and consent item C1 be removed from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do the pledge of allegiance. Councilwoman Perez, do you want to lead us on the pledge of allegiance? Yeah.
Of course. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I want to take a quick moment of silence for Officer Gina Rodriguez. Thank you, everyone, for that. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public comments for items not on the agenda. A person at this time may address the legislative body only on matters not appeared on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. Speakers' requests should be submitted as set forth on the first page of this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. After 30 minutes, if all speakers have not had the opportunity to speak, the remaining speakers will be given an opportunity to speak prior to adjournment of this meeting. The legislative body cannot enter into a detailed discussion or take action on any items presented during this public comment at this time. Such items may be referred to the city manager for administrative action or scheduled on a subsequent agenda for discussion. Persons wishing to speak on public hearing items should do so at this hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
Chair MacArthur, we have no public speakers virtually or in person for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll skip over the approval of the minutes and we'll go to item D1 on the agenda. From the Housing Department, the subject is CDBG loan agreement for Casa Aliento. We anticipate it's about 10 minutes. The recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee recommend that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the Housing Director or designee to execute $792,999 in CDBG loan agreement and any all-related documents thereto with Casa Aliento LP for the rehabilitation and conversion of an existing motel into 70 permanent supportive housing units located at 1245 North Oxnard Boulevard. The contact person for that is Brenda Lopez. Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members to staff on this item? Councilmember Perello.
A few questions. Thank you very much. Welcome. On the initial page of the document, page number of the staff report number 5, we talk about various things, and on the first paragraph under background, the very second to the last line, it says the project will include resources and supportive services for homeless individuals, prioritizing those vulnerable to the COVID and public health crisis and persons living with mental disabilities. Is there a ranking of how the degree of prioritization? Somebody is really, really bad, somebody's sort of bad, somebody's not so bad. And the other thing that I've asked about this is, it's talking just above that, it's talking about permanent supportive housing. Once people get in, they will be there as long as they qualify or they want. Can you clarify that for me a little bit?
Good evening, Brenda Lopez, currently serving as the interim director for the Public Housing Department. Yes, so the first question in regards to prioritizing the vulnerability of an applicant for one of these units, The prioritization is done by the county continuum of care for the Ventura County. And so what this group does is they work with various nonprofits and agencies throughout the entire county, and they prioritize our homeless and at risk of homeless individuals in the county. They do have a scoring system. I'm not familiar with it. My understanding is they do case conferencing. They look at the entire history, medical conditions, living situation for each individual. They have a case manager that comes in to advocate and to speak to their length of homelessness and their need, and also what resources are available and whether or not they're ready for housing. So all of this is done at the county level. They establish a wait list, again, based on this scoring, and the most vulnerable person that can live independently with supported services will get referred for a unit first. So yes, there's a scoring system done through the county based on vulnerability, but I don't have access to the scores that they assign.
Okay. Before we get to the second part of my question, on that one, if we have various groups that direct these people to the county to look at, in your experience, has there been like a tie vote? Who makes a decision of who is the one that gets it? Because what I'm feeling is the city does not make that call. The county's making that call, or some other agency outside of the city.
Correct. The city does not make the decision. I am not familiar on how they do a tiebreaker or not tiebreaker. We're not privy to that. And we do want that segregation, because if we are getting the referrals, and there could be a conflict if I prioritize the list as a city employee. So I don't have access to that, but my understanding is.
I accept that, and thank you very much. The second part of it is when it talks about the Mercy House has been operating in the former Vagabond Inn. It's a temporary non-cognitive shelter with the end goal of rehabilitating and converting the facility into permanent supportive housing. The permanent, is that respect to the facility will always be housing, or does that mean, could it be interpreted as whoever gets in gets to stay there as long as they're qualified and they want?
The interpretation is that if they're house ready, and by permanent, what they're trying to distinguish is right now, sometimes we do interim. So there's temporary shelters, there's motel vouchers. So they're sometimes in a temporary housing situation. And when we are speaking to permanent, the goal is we transition the individual, the applicant or family into this unit. And as long as they continue to participate in supportive services, like in this project, they may reside there as long as they're eligible and they participate in their case management.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. Thank you for.
If I can just cut in quickly. So on the question about how the continuum of care prioritizes who's next, we can get that info from them. So we can do that between now and the time. Does this go into council?
Yes.
Okay, so
we're
we'll
going
get
before
that.
council.
We'll get that information. I'm pretty sure that the process itself is not a state secret.
Yes.
In terms of the permanent supportive housing, the essence of that is for certain individuals, it's as long as they need, which is very different than want. But it's a juxtaposition from the old model, which was in operation in this country for many, many decades, which was you just had a set amount of time, 30 days, 90 days, whatever it was, and regardless if you were making genuine progress or not with your issue or combination of issues, you had to leave at the end of that time, which really exacerbated why people would fall back into homelessness. So that's the essence of permanent supportive housing, but it doesn't mean that someone gets a free unit for the rest of their lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the last paragraph under the discussion portion of it, under the specific discussion portion, it has a line in here, the project's other financing, namely the Home Key program, will require the project to remain affordable for 55 years. And in parentheses, the affordability terms run concurrently, which will also while also serving households experiencing homelessness. When we talk about the affordable 55 years and the affordability, is affordability include cost of living increases? Is it a set fee? Is it a cost? And the reason I just left a Community Facilities District meeting, and there's discussions about some had fees increases, some didn't. That's why I'm asking this. Is there cost of living increases in any of these costs or fees for the city?
For the city?
For the city, that the city's aware that they can pass them on, not continually come out of the general fund?
Sorry, I'm asking.
If I can answer that. So Councilmember Perla, what this requirement is, this project has to remain affordable to the target group for 55 years. So if the cost of living goes up, it still has to be affordable to people who are very low or are low income, and the operator will have to come up with additional money to make sure that it's affordable. So they will not look to us per se, but that's an affordability requirement. So they're getting a lot of grants, a lot of loans, other things based upon that affordability component. So this is just to tell you that if you recommend to council to make this loan, that is, as part of this project, it will be affordable for 55 years.
Okay.
It means, I believe it means, for example, they can't turn it into a penthouse condos in 20 years and make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's for a 55-year period. At 55 years, then, we'll see what happens at that point. But for 55 years, we're guaranteed this will remain available to provide this housing for the people who really need it.
Okay, thank you. That helps me a lot. And one last question, just a kind of a technical one having to do with calendar stuff. We have in the actual resolution, the body of it, it's talking about 30 days, and then other areas, they talk about calendar days. On page 12, the second to the last paragraph from the bottom, midway, it's talking about 45, and it says calendar days. Previously, on the previous page, the bottom line, it says within 30 days, but it doesn't mention calendar. Does it make a difference to our benefit if we call them calendar days or just days? Should there be some consistency to that?
And can you clarify for me, this is on you mentioned the resolution?
On page 11, it says the CDBG subrecipient agreement, page 2 of 49, which is 11 on the staff report. On the bottom of that page, it says, and I apologize, I should have contacted you before. My apologies. I won't do that again. I apologize. Subrecipient within 30 days of the request. On the next page, which is page 3 of 49 and staff report page 12, midway through the second to the last paragraph, it says, shall be corrected within 45 calendar days. It just seemed that if there was some, I'm just thinking to myself, there's a little bit of too much wiggle room.
Mr. Mayor, if I can respond to that. So the contractual interpretation is if it says calendar days or days, it means, 30 days. If it's business days, that means just days of the week, Monday through Friday. So calendar days and just days are synonymous. It's good to have consistency, but they do mean the same thing.
So calendar days excludes weekends and holidays?
No, calendar days are every day. So you have 31 days in January, there's 31 calendar days.
Okay.
You would have less business days because that's just Monday through Friday.
Okay, and if we just say days, that includes weekends and holidays?
Yes, that's days equals calendar
Calendar
days.
days. Thank you. I'm learning something every day here.
Great,
Thank you very much. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Councilwoman Perez, any questions for staff?
Yeah, my question is really just around timeline, and this is me, just to follow up on if there's a timeline on the selection process or referral process. And then the second question is, when will individuals be selected, if there's a timeline on that?
So yes, so basically right now for the first phase of the project, we already leased up all the units. The last applicants were leased up in December. And then right now for the remaining 38 units, we are already working with the county on the referrals. The timelines are, we cannot accept a referral more than 120 days in advance because the documentation expires as far as the voucher is concerned. So for the other units that do not have a voucher, they also have a 120-day deadline, if you will. So we are trying our best not to go back to the clients repeatedly, especially because they don't have necessarily access to all of their documents. So right now, I know for sure we are already midway through the referrals. So the way it works, county is, they have their monthly meetings. They select their candidates, prioritize them, work with the case managers, comes over to us, and we're already working on approving and qualifying. And so is the property management company as well. So 120 days is what we work with.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
Chair MacArthur, we have no public speakers virtually or in person for this item. Thank you.
Just a question for me, for staff. My home is about a mile within, do I need to recuse myself from entertaining a vote on this personally?
No, if you're a mile away, there's not a conflict.
Within a mile?
Well, and I guess the question is it within 500 feet? Is it within 1,000 feet? What's the,
It's beyond, it's beyond 1,000 feet.
it's within 1,000 feet?
No, beyond 1,000 feet.
Then you're fine.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yes, Councilman Perlo.
One more question. With respect to the question Councilman Perez asked, if the people are holding the documents and they're going through a process, is there a time that the documents become stale and they got to generate everything? If that happens, what's the process?
It's 120 days. It used to be 60 days, but the government now changed it to 120. The documents, if they become stale, then they have to resubmit most of their documents that are not, except for their vital birth certificates, IDs. Other than that, we just have to get them all updated and we re-verify before reapproving the client. So yes, if they go stale, collect them again.
If they did become stale and they had to re-verify, do they keep their place in line?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody keeps their place until a final decision is made.
That's all my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Perlo. If there are no questions or any more comments or discussion from committee members, what is the desire of the committee on this item? I will move to take action on this item. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Councilman Perlo. Madam Clerk, can we get a vote?
Chair MacArthur,
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo? Yes. Committee Member Bettis?
Yes.
The motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any business for a future agenda item from any member of the committee here? None? Okay,
None at this time.
okay. There being no further business on the agenda, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.